Sorry for getting this to you kind of late. It's a little bit longer getting this video out to you than I had anticipated. Uh, Sometimes when you work on a car project, you encounter some things that you hadn't expected as you go along the way. That happened exactly with this brake job project. As I was going into it, ran into a couple of areas where it's like, well, if I'm already here working on this, I might as well go ahead and take care of this other item. And that happened with a few more things. And so things can get a little out of control if you're not careful. And that's kind of what happened to me. So do I regret any of it? No. Am I going to have to unbolt some things that I've just fixed or I'm actually working on? Yes, probably later on in the project. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. There was a lot of rust, cobwebs, and dust, but nothing to indicate a catastrophic failure in the past, like dramatically leaking wheel cylinders that fouled the pads, heck, a fire from things dragging, or evidence that the backing plate was damaged when a wheel came flying off while the truck was going down the road. The only thing to really catch my eye was the condition of the drum lining and pads. Both showed signs of heavy grooving and wear. I can't tell at the moment if there's enough material left on the drums to save them. Replacement rear drums for these vehicles are relatively inexpensive, so I've chosen to go that route. I'm thinking of saving the groove drums to see if I can put them on the front, but that's a story for another video. Disassembly was also relatively uneventful. None of the springs broke as I was trying to pull them off. I could tell whomever installed the brakes last time did a really good job because he made sure to bend the springs around the anchor pin so they wouldn't come off easily. The only issue was a rust ridge holding the anchor pin plate in place. A little leverage with a screwdriver helped that to come off and allowed removal of the pads and springs and adjustment screw and other bits so that I could get to the wheel cylinders. Pulling off the wheel cylinder cap exposed some serious nastiness. The insides were full of corrosion, and along with similar corrosion in the master cylinder, explained why the brake pedal was rock hard when you tried to press down on it. Replacement wheel cylinders are, again, pretty cheap, about 20 bucks a piece, and it's a good investment for safe driving. I next got into the parking brake. The lines were a bit rusty, but with some penetrating oil and a few good tugs on the emergency brake handle in the cab, I was able to get everything moving again. The next bit is where a bunch of the extra time has ended up getting added. I decided to clean off as much rust as I could while the backing plates are still attached to the rear axle. This was done more as a way to find out the condition of the backing plates to see if they still have any service life left. In fact, they appear to be generally in better shape than the backing plates on my 53 F-100, which has grooves worn into the backing plate where the brake pads rub against it. I may come back again in the future and do a better job, but for now I just applied some rust rejuvenating paint to neutralize the rust and put a top coat of black paint on and put everything back together. By doing this, everything looks much better, and I have a functional parking brake, which is at least a minimal goal for this project. After feeling good about the rear brakes, I dove into the front brakes, feeling kind of psyched that things were moving along so well. Since I didn't have to worry about axle shafts, I decided I would remove the backing plates entirely so I could do a better cleaning job. And this is where the first problem started. It took a long time to get the backing plates off. The culprit was a rust ridge that had formed between the spindle and the backing plate. A quick pass with an abrasive wheel allowed me to take care of that, and the backing plate came off without too much more fuss. With the backing plates off, I was able to get a closer look at the tie rod. That wasn't looking pretty at all.
That is supposed to be attached to that bolt. That bolt's not moving, but that's moving up and down.
Okay, so new tie rod ends appeared to be added to the plan. Next, a closer look at the spindles themselves.
Hard to see, but there it is. You can definitely hear the wiggle. Definitely the bushings are pretty much worn out, but I cannot, for the life of me, get the kingpin out. So, all right, and that's what persistent hammering with an air tool looks like on a set of kingpins that just don't want to come out.
With the axle still on the truck, I can't get enough leverage to knock the kingpins out. The axle has to come out. However, the nuts for the U-bolts that hold the axle to the springs are rusted in place, and penetrating oil can't defy gravity. So the best choice now is to drop the axle and springs as a unit so the axle can be turned over. Since I'm doing this all myself, I figure I would try to make it a bit easier by building a little rig that can hold everything together. The only thing I don't like about all of this is the fact that in order to get clearance, I do have to remove the rear jack stands, at least temporarily, which means that all this is going to be supported on this beautiful 2x4 support structure, which I hope, for my sake, it doesn't collapse. Anyway, that's it. So looking at this bushing, it's pretty well wallowed out. Actually, both of them are looking kind of rough. This one's very, very thin on this wall here. The other side, gives you a better idea of what they should look like. This one actually looks like it's in pretty solid condition. That one's not very much worn out at all. This one's only slightly worn. So I think this is the one that was in the back. The other side is the side that was in the front. So anyway, there we go. I'm gonna start stripping off some more rust. Yay. All right, well, that's where we stand with the project so far. I know not very satisfying because you didn't see anything get reassembled. As far as the axle is concerned, beyond what you saw with the air hammer, I have tried using heat combined with the air hammer. I have used more penetrating oil with heat. I have used a 5-ton puller with it without success. And I have used a sledgehammer and no luck. Can't get anything to let go. So for later in the week, I'll be working with a buddy of mine. He's got a 20-ton press, and we'll see if we can press those pins out finally, and hopefully that'll do everything we need to do. Once they're out, then I can go ahead and clean everything up. I've got new parts, and we can reassemble the axles and get that in good shape. As far as the springs are concerned, I do have new bushings on order and new pins. And once all that's together, then we can reassemble it. I'll have a new video on that coming up in the new year. And if you like this kind of content or are interested in seeing more of this project as it progresses, please, please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or feedback, appreciate that too. So thank you very much. Hope you have a happy new year and a happy holiday, and take it easy. Thanks.